You know that feeling when you're home alone and the house settles. The little creaks and pops are just background noise. But sometimes the noise isn't the house settling. Sometimes it's the house waking up. This is what happened to me last Tuesday, and I haven't slept with the lights off since. My parents were out of town, and I was reveling in the freedom of a silent, empty house. I ordered pizza, put on a movie, and sprawled on the couch. The first sign something was wrong was so small I almost missed it. The movie was loud, but I heard a distinct single clang from the kitchen, like a spoon being dropped in the stainless steel sink. I paused the film. Silence. I shrugged it off. The cat must have knocked something over, even though the cat was sleeping on my lap. I pressed play. 10 minutes later, I heard it again. Clang. Then, a moment after, another. Clang. It was rhythmic. Deliberate. Clang. 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 It was the sound of someone slowly, methodically, tapping a utensil against the inside of the sink. My blood went cold. The cat was still on my lap, its ears perked, staring intently toward the kitchen. I was frozen, listening to that slow, metallic beat, a terrifying rhythm section to the movie's soundtrack. Then it stopped. The sudden silence was somehow worse. I heard a new sound, the soft, wet sound of a dish sponge being squeezed. Once? Twice? I muted the TV. My heart was a frantic drum in my chest. I had to look. I crept to the edge of the living room and peered around the doorway into the dark kitchen. The moon through the window illuminated the sink. It was empty, but the faucet was on. A thin stream of water trickling out, and the dish sponge lay in the basin, swollen with water. I never leave the faucet on. I ran back to the couch, grabbed my phone, and called my friend David. My voice was a shaky whisper. David, someone's in my house. I'm serious. As I was talking to him, trying to sound calm, I heard a floorboard creak at the top of the stairs. I looked up. The hallway at the top was pitch black. Did you hear that? I whispered into the phone. David told me to lock myself in a room and call the police, but I was paralyzed. Because then, from the darkness at the top of the stairs, a child's voice giggled. It was a sweet, clear sound that turned my bones to ice. Hello. The little voice called out. Can you come play? The man in the wall says it's time to play. There was no child in my house. I don't have a younger sibling. I don't have any siblings. David was screaming through the phone for me to get out. I dropped the phone and ran for the front door, yanking on the handle. It was locked, the deadbolt firmly in place. I fumbled for the chain lock. It was already slid across. I never used the chain lock. From the kitchen, the tapping started again. Clang, clang, clang. And from upstairs, the little girl's voice began to sing a nursery rhyme, her voice fading as if she was walking away down the hall. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. I did the only thing I could think of. I didn't run to a room. I ran to the basement door. It was the one place with no windows, a solid, old-fashioned bolt lock. I slammed the door shut behind me, plunged into total darkness, and through the heavy, I sat there on the top step, listening to my own ragged breaths. I could still hear the faint, maddening clang from the kitchen above and the distant, happy singing. Then a new sound started. A soft scratching. It wasn't from upstairs. It was coming from the wall right next to me, in the basement. It was the sound of long, dry fingernails slowly dragging down the other side of the drywall. A low, raspy whisper seeped through the plaster, so close I could feel its breath. She wants to play, it hissed. But I want to talk. You're in my spot. I screamed and scrambled down the basement steps into the deeper blackness. Fumbling for the old landline phone on the workbench, I called 911, sobbing my address. The police arrived within minutes. When they came in, the house was silent. The faucet was off. The sponge was dry and in its holder. The front door chain was off. They found nothing. They said it was a panic attack, a product of an overactive imagination home alone. They were almost convincing. Until the senior officer, a man in his 50s with tired eyes, took me aside as his partner left the room. He knelt down, his voice low. "Son," he said, his face grim. "This house, the family who lived here before you, they had a little girl. She went missing about 10 years ago. They never found her." He paused, looking towards my kitchen sink. Her favorite game was to make music with the spoons. He stood up to leave, placing a card in my hand. And the man they suspected in her disappearance, he was a contractor. The original owner said he was obsessed with the crawl spaces. Said he kept talking about the spaces between the walls. He left, and I stood alone in the silent hallway. I'm moving out tomorrow. But last night, as I packed a box in my room, I heard it again. A single, soft clang from the kitchen below. And then a tiny, whispered question from the air vent near the floor. "Ready or not? Here I come."